Hi, good evening. It's Jen Healy. I am summing up day 2 of Date with Destiny, all at the wee hours of 11:30 at night here. But I actually left a little early. They're still going till midnight. Getting into it. So I really want to share these little clips each day and share my experience with you in order to benefit you. And if there's anything that you really get from these videos that could possibly make a positive impact on your life, it brings me so much joy. So I'm going to share every day a little nugget, just like 1 minute long, of the ahas that I had or the highlights. And then I wanted to do a longer video that really dives a little bit deeper into some of these teachings and share with you the process that I have each day. So I will share the teachings and then I will share my personal experience, because it's always good to have an example of how to apply the teachings. And one of the things I love most about Tony Robbins is that he helps so many people make extraordinary changes in their lives. So if you're feeling unfulfilled or unsatisfied in some way, there's usually a reason. And we want to uncover that reason. So he talks about like how to make really lasting positive change. And if you want to have an extraordinary life, you can change your thinking, you can change your habits, you can change your mind, right, which changes your emotions, or you can change your body, right? You can change your physiology. And these all influence how you're experiencing the world. And then today, he went a little bit deeper into changing the meaning, which is connected to our beliefs. So that's kind of getting closer to the root cause of something. And when we change the meaning of something, we might not be able to change the external situation, but when we change the meaning it has for us, then we take back more power in our lives, and then we have more choice. And so we went over in my little nugget video earlier, the spheres of influence, and I want to go a little bit more into that practice. Before I do, I'm going to encourage you to check out Tony Robbins' videos around the 6 human needs and these basic needs that we all have. And when we start to rearrange these needs, because they are significant for all beings. So everybody has these 6 basic needs. It just depends on which ones are prioritized, which ones are at the top of the list or dominating our experiences and choices, and which ones can we start to kind of prioritize and rearrange those. So I really think that's important, and I'm going to bring some of that information in. For example, if I'm leading with the need for significance and certainty in my relationships, they're going to go way different than if I'm leading with love and connection and contribution. So that's one of the things that I shifted today, is my need to be significant or important or unique to the people in my life. If I shift that to love and connection, and then I replace the need for certainty, always knowing what's going to happen, which is really common in relationships. If I shift that to contribution, we're both growing and contributing and participating in the world in a way that is supporting our love and connection, then it usually goes way better. So that's just one example. So back to these spheres of existence that I taught, spheres of influence, but they are existence too. There's work, relationships, and self. And traditionally, men have been taught to overemphasize work, and women have been taught to overemphasize relationships. And this is kind of how society has been built and bred. And in this newer generation, the new millennials have actually been taught to overemphasize self, which is why social media has become so popular, and how many likes you have and selfies and all of that stuff. So each generation is actually dealing with different spheres and different influence, which we can see, by the way we're using technology and interacting. So we want to look at where is our energy going, because where our attention goes, energy flows. And if we're not giving much attention to ourselves, to our health, to our well-being, or if we're not giving attention to our relationships, or even if we're not giving attention to our work, then you can see that area of our lives will suffer, or it will be diminished in value, to make it a little bit more neutral. But usually suffering is what I experience. Okay, so I have personally found that I am really dedicated to my path and my mission, and my need to contribute and to grow and to help people is super important. And I've put that above some other really significant things in people's lives. Like most people have focused on getting married and having kids, and that just hasn't been my path, which would fall into the realm of relationships. So because I've overemphasized work, and I still do really take good care of myself, then the relationship bubble has gotten smaller than what other people focus on. So I've made a commitment to bring that all back into balance and to come into equanimity, where my relationships and my work and myself and my health are all equally being contributed to and focused on and up leveled. So that feels really good. So it's something to think about, like, where is the area of your life that you can improve upon? If you want to look at it that way, sometimes reversing it sounds good. Some people, my clients in particular, I'm always encouraging them to focus more on their health and their self and their well-being, because women in particular have been taught that that bubble is really small, and they focus more on relationships and then work and then self, and they put themselves last. So when we turn some of these equations around, when we rearrange the energy and how we're contributing and distributing it in our lives, then we can come into greater levels of optimization, of health, of wellness, of harmony. And I think that's really important for us to take a look at. And then to look at what needs are being fulfilled by this emphasis. Like, a lot of people overemphasize work because work is more of an area where they feel significant or empowered or more certain, and relationships are more uncertain or more scary or uncomfortable. So sometimes in a relationship, when things aren't going well, people will really just throw themselves into their work, and then their relationship suffers. Or they're giving so much attention to their work or their relationships, their children, that their health is suffering because they are not putting any time and attention on really building themselves up. And these things are all important to keep in harmony and balance. So just a nice reminder, both for me and my goals, as well as the people in my lives, just sharing these little nuggets, these tidbits. So that was a big chunk of today. We covered so much in the last 12 hours. It's hard to give like a true summary, so I'm just giving you the little snippets. And then we went into this whole process of discovering what our primary question is. And this is when I was like, all right, I'm going to cut out and share with you guys the video, so it's really fresh, and I'm still working on mine. But the basis of it is that every single day we are constantly asking ourselves a question. Not only asking ourselves a question, but we're telling ourselves a story. And if we want to change the meaning of our lives, we have to tell a different story. And this is so significant. I can't even stress it enough, because this is what I offer and do with my empowerment courses, is to help people write a new story. So we really need to come up with a new primary question. And he gave lots of good examples today of people really discovering for the first time that maybe their primary question is like, why don't people like me? Or how can I get people to love me more? Or how can I be the best at something? And some of these questions could be serving us, and then some of them can be limiting. So for me, I have had quite a progression over the last 20 years because I have been doing this work. But when I was younger, I didn't really understand why people acted the way they did. And the negative things that happened to me, my primary question was, why is this happening to me? I just felt so out of control or victimized by the harmful things in the world because I didn't understand. I was like, why is this happening to me? Why are people doing these really weird, mean things? Even if that was like littering, you know, and then it goes up the scale in severity from there. But I never really understood why people are doing the way they do. So that's been my kind of passion and my desire in my adulthood, is to understand why people do what they do. Because that primary question of why is this happening to me was driving all my choices. And then when I really got more empowered, more in my own sense of self, I switched my primary question to, how can I fix this? How can I make it better? What is the solution? So I've been very solution oriented in my adulthood, but that makes me a problem solver. So then I'm identifying problems and fixing them, and that's also insinuating that there's a problem. So I'm giving this example for you guys to get a sense of how I've been working the process, and how even before I changed my old primary question that was running unconsciously and obviously influencing my life, to a new primary question, which was, how can I create a solution? How can I find the benefit of this? What is the answer? How can I fix this? But that's still insinuating there being a problem. So I am shifting once again to finding a new primary question that I can all day, every day, remind myself to stay in my truth, in my alignment, connected to source. And then therefore, like I said, shifting my human needs, bringing love and connection and contribution and growth up to the more significant levels. That is really important to me. How can I contribute and how can I serve more? So I changed my primary question that I'm asking myself, and I do this consciously, of like, how can I serve the highest and best of what is possible while staying connected to source? So this idea of that I'm connected to a higher power that is supporting me, that is serving me, that is here guiding me, means I don't have to do it all myself. So that takes a little bit, it's just a tiny shift, but it takes a little less of the emphasis on focusing on the problem and finding a solution. Little old me, alone in the world, to I am supported, I am connected, I have solutions flowing to me and through me, and how can I serve others in focusing on that? Because serving others and being available and contributing and growing are all really primary for me in my life purpose and how I make decisions. So it's just food for thought. So one of the things that we went into, and I'll wrap up here so I keep these short within 15 minutes, is what has been driving our primary question, because there are experiences, probably earlier on in our lives, that have influenced us to create these questions. So for me, like I said, I didn't understand, while there was so much negativity in the world, there's so many problems happening. And so why is this happening? My confusion came out of those experiences. And then my desire to create solutions is what I've been leading with. So I am always on it. I'm always like, okay, I know this major thing has happened. What's the benefit here? What is the gift? How can we learn from this? How can we move forward? That is like my go-to. And that has created a wonderful world for me. And so I've been driven from this idea of, I didn't like the world that I was seeing, experiencing, so I want to create a new world. And now I'm inviting an even higher level of, how can I see myself already supported, safe and happy and guided in a new world that I'm wanting to co-create. So I'm in this co-creative dance, and that is the shift that I'm making. And so when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of stability and support. And maybe when you were younger, you had certain experiences that molded that primary question. And that primary question has just been running unconsciously your whole life. So I encourage you to just take a moment and take a look at some of the experiences that have molded you, and just ask, are they still serving? There's always a benefit. There's a benefit to our behavior, and then there's usually a detriment. So we have to look at, is the benefit outweighing the detrimental parts? And then we choose to shift that. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow and sharing with you some more. I'm going to go get some rest. This is Jen Healy, and you can find out more about my teachings and my trainings at transformationaltraining.online or zenhealing.com, ZenHealyng.com. Thank you so much for listening. See you tomorrow.